I used to think vintage cards were ugly as I always thought they looked like old people cards when I was a kid. All I cared about was shiny parallels, autos, patch cards. The flashier, the better. I thought that's what made a card cool and valuable. But here's the thing nobody tells you when you're starting out. Almost everybody ends up buying the wrong sports card. Not because they're dumb, not because they don't try, but because they chase what looks cool instead of actually what holds value. I've made all the mistakes. I've bought the flashy stuff that's tanked. I forced myself to like cards just because they looked modern, and I ignored the stuff that actually checks every box for long-term demand. So in today's video, I'm breaking down the 3 reasons you'll end up buying the wrong sports card and how to fix it before you waste your money. Let's jump into reason number 1. And also what I'll say at the end, I'm going to give you guys a good sports card to buy that I think has long-term demand. Reason number 1 is timing the market, okay? So this is what most people do. What most people do is they say, hey, the MLB season is about to start. Let me buy XYZ player in February or March and hold it into the season. He's going to play well, and that card's going to go up in value. They're trying to guess who the next player is going to be, and they buy these cards right before the season starts, and that's when cards are at their highest, which is a bad idea. Let me give you some great statistics. 50% of NFL quarterbacks that are drafted in the first round are out of the league within 5 years. What I'm trying to get at, it is almost impossible to predict who the next great quarterback is going to be. If scouts can't do it, can you? Probably not. Only 17% of MLB first round draft picks ever make it to the major leagues and become average ball players. 17%, if they become average, you're probably going to lose money, because what happens is guys are hyped up, and when people realize that they're not the next Mike Trout or Shohei Ohtani, their cards go down in value. So guys that are average players, their cards don't hold long-term value. They actually go down. So it's a terrible investment to take a risk on 1, 2, 3% of guys who were drafted in the first round actually become stars. Not good math. 70 to 80% of rookie cards peak before they ever prove any. Sports cards is all speculative, hype, demand. Look at some of the guys who have sold for the most amount of money ever in sports cards when they were young. Guys like Zion Williamson, Tyler Hero, Ja Morant, Trey Young. These guys sold for so much money back in the day, and now their values are 5% or 10% of what they once were. These cards go up a ton in value just because people get excited. It's kind of like an IPO with a stock of a company. It comes out, people get super freaking excited. That's why all these stock prices go crazy when an IPO comes out a lot of the time. Then they come back down. Kind of the same way with rookie sports cards. Another great stat is rookie cards fall on average 40 to 70% from their preseason high. So if you have a card that's selling for $100 of a quarterback before the NFL season starts, on average, that card will go down to $40 to $70 within a few weeks into the season. The point I'm trying to get at is don't guess. You're gonna be wrong more times than not. Another great stat, only 1 to 2 NBA players per draft class have long-term growth with their sports cards, as in their sports cards tend to go up over time. Only 1 to 2 out of 31 or 32 first-round picks in the NBA, there's only one guy, maybe 2, that go up in value over the long term. And I'll leave it off with this. Only 4 active NFL QBs have sustained multi-year card value increases in the last 10 years. Think about the other 28. How many guys have been on the Browns, then left, and how many guys have played quarterback for the Jets and left, and all these teams just recycling through quarterbacks. There's probably 70, 80, 90, 100 quarterbacks that have failed, and there's only 4 that have sustained multi-year increases. Probably Mahomes, Josh Allen, maybe someone like Jordan Love, maybe someone like Matt Stafford, not sure. Timing the market, that's what people go wrong. They try to guess who the next big player is going to be. What you want to do is buy cards while they're low in the offseason and sell it into that preseason hype. Reason number 2, buying cards or products that are not liquid. Over 90% of all sports card listings, auctions on eBay, never get a bid. And the reason being a lot of the time is because nobody wants the cards that are being sold, okay? It's only worth it to buy a card if you could sell it. There's only about 10 to 12 brands total that have actual decent resale value with cards. Prism, Select, Top Series, Bowman Chrome, stuff like that. And now the license has moved over to Topps. So now a bunch of Panini products that were once good, like Prism, when it comes out next, if it does, it's not licensed anymore. So odds are it's going to be far less liquid. Okay. So just to give you a good example, like baseball. With baseball, you want to stick to things like Topps Chrome, Topps Heritage, Topps Series, Topps Update, Bowman Chrome. These are good products or ones with resale value. Buying things like Flawless for baseball, these cards can sell for a lot of money, but they're very hard to sell after you buy them or after you get them graded, because just because they're unlicensed, they have way less of demand, because people who are investing in these players long term and want these rookie cards, they want their premier or premium rookie cards, which are the licensed ones. So that's what a lot of people do wrong. Prism-based PSA 10s, because there's so many of them, they on average drop 60 to 95% in value since 2021, because there's so many more PSA 10s coming into the market that just with anything that gets tons of supply, the demand is just naturally going to go down. Liquid cards on average will take you about 24 to 48 hours to sell. So if it's taking you a month, 2 months, 3 months to sell a card, either A, you got something no one wants, or B, you're asking too much money for it. Okay. And a lot of times you just have something that nobody wants, which relates to exactly what I'm talking about. Reason number 3 that will probably relate to almost all of you guys is breaking open packs and boxes instead of buying singles. I found some amazing data to back home this point of why buying packs and boxes and breaks are so bad. Here's some good ones. The average hobby box, the expected value is 20%. Okay. What that means is if you put $10,000 into hobby boxes on average, and it depends on the product and the players in it and stuff, you're going to get back $2,000 on average. Yes, you can get lucky and pull a $500,000 card, which is probably not going to happen, but that's the average. A retail box, so buying cards from Target, Walmart, buying these packs, the expected value is 10%, which I believe, because when I do it, I never get my money back ever. So if you put $1,000 into buying cards at Walmart or buying packs and boxes at Walmart, you can expect on average to get back 10% of what you put in. Not that good, right? The odds of pulling a top rookie card or parallel are usually on average blended about 1 in 1,000 packs. And many retail blasters have 0 guaranteed autos, 0 guaranteed number cards, less than a 3 to 5% chance of pulling anything that's actually worth grading. How many times have you bought a retail pack and it says guaranteed relic or auto, and you get some like BS relic of some player you barely know, and the card's worth like $2 and you spent $50 on the pack, right? It's happened to me a bunch. Over 80% of hobby boxes do not return half their purchase price. 85% of group break spots, you lose your money. Probably not a good investment. Less than 5% of sealed wax releases, so the minute it's released, less than 5% of them hold long-term value. So you're just putting your money into something at a high point that is probably going to go down in value, okay? Those are the big 3 things as what people do wrong. Timing the market, because they're just trying to guess who the next big player is going to be, which is just a bad mathematical game. Buying stuff nobody wants, right? If you do everything right, but you buy products nobody wants. And then getting into breaks, right? It's just a terrible math game. You have better odds going to the casino and playing roulette. And I said I'd leave you guys off in this video with buying one vintage card that I think right now is good long-term value, and I'll kind of give you why. This card specifically has reached a high of $310 in the past year. It's at a low point right now of about $210 to $220 to $230 while I'm speaking right now. And this is a 1998 Topps Randy Moss PSA 10. Buying a card of Randy Moss, you will never stress out holding something like that. He's one of the all-time great receivers. He's never going to play another game, so you don't have to risk injury. And you're just getting in at a great price right now. This is what I like to do with vintage cards and modern cards, right? The whole name of the game is buy low, sell high, right? You don't want to buy while a card's at a high and sell higher. And I just did some data before, and I think this is a pretty good buy. Well, I'm speaking right now, but if you watch this video into the future, these prices could change. Hopefully, you're grasping the general concept of what I like to do, just buying things while they're at a low point. Okay, and I think a 1998 Topps Randy Moss PSA 10 is good. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. There's going to be a PDF down below of exactly what I was talking about, taking you in step-by-step format. You can click the link in the description. Go get it for free. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.